evening and welcome. Tonight we will be going over the history and geography of Chimborazo in Ecuador. Ecuador, if you don't know, is this tiny country in South America located along the Pacific coast. There's a lot of wonderful natural wonders in Ecuador, including the Andes Mountains, which run through pretty much almost the entirety of this province, except for a little bit of a smidge of lowland over there, but it's mostly the Andes Mountains coming through here. But pretty much my favorite natural wonder in all of Ecuador, not counting the Galapagos, of course, that's its own thing. It's part of Ecuador. My favorite thing in mainland Ecuador is Mount Chimborazo, which my map has in a weird spot. It says it's right there. It's really like right here where the U is in Ecuador. Mount Chimborazo is the highest mountain in Ecuador. And it has a very, very interesting geographic fact. Ecuador is, of course, the Spanish word for equator. We are right on the equator here. Now, planet Earth, if you don't know, isn't perfectly round. It's not a perfect sphere. It's a little squished, right? A little bit squished. So the edges are a little bit more rounded. You can't see my hands. Are a little bit more rounded out like this than, perfect sphere. It's more like this. So things in the middle stick out into space a lot more than things out here, right? Do you see the visual? So Ecuador is one of those places that are right here because it's in the equator. So Mount Chimborazo being the highest point in Ecuador, right near the equator, means that it sticks out further up into the atmosphere than any other peak on the planet. It's not as high as Everest, of course. Most mountains aren't. I think Chimborazo is at like 19 or 20,000 feet. Everest is around 10,000 more than that. But because it's not near the equator, let me get my Earth hand up again. It's shaped like this, right? Everest is like here. So it does stick up pretty high, but not as high as Chimborazo would stick up into the atmosphere. So the fact that's usually stated is that it's the highest point you can get from the center of the Earth, so that they're not saying you're on the highest mountain, because you're technically not in terms of sea level and all of that. But I like to say that it is the highest up in the atmosphere you can get with your feet still being on Earth. Right? It's as high up in the atmosphere as you can go while still touching land with your feet. Not in an airplane or a hang glide or anything like that, still touching the Earth. That's how I like to say it, at least. Beautiful Mount Chimborazo is a big old volcano covered in snow. It's a huge, huge mountain. I think I don't remember. It meant something like Snowy Peak in the indigenous language here. Something like that. The main city just on the downslopes of Mount Chimborazo is Riobamba. And we'll talk about why it's located there in its history. Also, the name Riobamba is just a really great name. It's fun to say. Then over here, you can see right here, most of it is over here. But it does creep into our province a little bit. You can see over here. This is the Sangay National Park. And the Sangay National Park is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So let me grab a tablet. Make sure that you can see it. I mean, I'm having a time with my new camera holder. It works really well, but almost too well. And it's a little confusing sometimes, but it works really great. Sangay National Park. With its outstanding natural beauty and 2 active volcanoes, the park illustrates the entire spectrum of ecosystems, ranging from tropical rainforests to glaciers, with striking contrasts between the snow-capped peaks and the forests of the plains. Its isolation has encouraged the survival of indigenous species such as the mountain tapir and the Andean condor. And look at this landscape. This big smoky mountain there. Or maybe just cloudy. But we'll look at it more on Google Earth. There'll be more pictures there. So, the history of the Chimborazo region. Of course, there were many different indigenous peoples that lived here, but the first one that's going to be significant to our history is the Puruha. The Puruha, I think, lived down here in the slopes of Mount Chimborazo. Came face to face with the Inca as their empire expanded northward in the 1400s. The Inca were very warlike. They were conquerors. They took over with military might. The Puruha resisted as much as they could until they made peace with them, essentially. I think just like a very, not a full, we're best friends, but let's agree to work together kind of peace. A truce, if you will. The ruler of the Incas' title was Sapa Inca. I did not write down his name. I'm so sorry, because we know every Sapa Inca. The Sapa Inca at the time married the princess of the Puruha, and their child was Atahualpa, who was the last Sapa Inca, who was very famously held for ransom by Pizarro and the Spanish and killed, even though they got their ransom. The end of the Inca Empire, essentially. So how interesting that our little area here has a big impact on the history of not just Ecuador, but like the entire Pacific coast of South America. Riobamba would be founded in 1534. It would be the first official settlement in what's now Ecuador. So there's a lot of firsts in Riobamba, like the first major church, the first this kind of building, first this kind of complex, so on and so forth. They're almost always in Riobamba. But this is not where Riobamba was originally located. I think it was much closer to the volcano. But in 1797, there was a huge earthquake and Riobamba was completely destroyed. So the survivors rebuilt the town where it is now. I think it was probably not too far off, but in a safer spot probably. Mount Chimborazo was climbed for the first time in 1880 by an Englishman named Edward Whymper. The first to summit Chimborazo. Many have done it since, but I have read it as a very, very difficult climb. It's very snowy and icy, and there's a lot of vertical climbs. Not to mention it's a volcano. Right? So I've heard it's very hard to summit, but Edward Whymper would be the first person to reach that high elevation peak. I'm sure the altitude messes with you extensively as well, being that high up in the atmosphere. The only other history tidbit that I found in this area occurred in 2002, where very sadly a munitions depot exploded in Riobamba, killing a few people. I think it was 7 people, injuring a bit more, but pretty much like blowing out all the windows in town, things like that. Big explosion. Very sad. Very sad when an unnecessary explosion like that happens because you can't prepare for it. You know, there's nothing you can do. It's just whoever's in the wrong place at the wrong time, you know. But that's pretty much all I've got for you in terms of history of this area. It seems pretty rural. Riobamba seems like a fun place to explore. There are, of course, many festivals, most of them centering around religion, around Catholicism to be specific, but with some indigenous little bits and bobs here and there throughout the culture. So without further ado, why don't I dim the lights and get the tablet back over here, and we will explore beautiful Chimborazo on Google Earth. Let's go. Here we are in Chimborazo province. You can see right away the mountains coming through. You can see big old Mount Chimborazo all snowy right there, where it kind of drops off to a lowland area over here, but not by much. And the national park creeps up into here. You can see. But let's zoom out so you can see exactly where we are in the world. Here's beautiful Ecuador. There's the Galapagos Islands right over here. And here we are in South America. You can see the Andes coming down from here and then getting pretty massive throughout here into Chile, all across Peru. You can see the big Amazon rainforest, all of the beauties of South America. We are right smack dab in the middle of this cordillera right here. So let's start by looking at the national park. Even though the slideshow is over here, it does creep into this area here. It's pretty incredible. Like it said, it has all of the biodiversity goodness that you can find all throughout Ecuador in this one spot. You've got the jungle, you've got the volcanoes, you've got the little shrines here, or little places to pray, I suppose. Beautiful waterfalls. Yeah, this would be a fun park to hike through. These people agree. Maybe not them, but she agrees. He's actually frowning. He's not having a good time. He's having a great time here at the lake. Looks like Laguna Magdalena by the looks of it. And it's beautiful here. Look at this twin waterfall. That's so lovely. And a big one right here. Looks like a mermaid gown right here, doesn't it? There's the body and here's the skirt. Can you see it? Yeah, beautiful little part of Ecuador. Let's see. Let's look over here. Big volcano over here as well. Looks like it's very glaciated on this side, but we're looking at this side. We're looking at this volcanic lake here. Isn't that gorgeous? All full of glacial water. And how can you tell? Because it's the color of Glacier Freeze Gatorade. It's a very distinct color. This bright blue, almost like the color of the sky. It's not like watery colored, it's blue. That's how you can tell a glacial lake from any other lake, because the water's just so pure and gorgeous. Look at this. Look how amazing. Looks like an ice fall there. So in the summertime, it'll melt and flow water. See this color? Glacier Freeze Gatorade. Glacial Lake. Very cool. What else can we find over here? Guess we can head over to Riobamba. This town is called Guano. Look at the Guano Pyramid. I don't know if I want to see a guano pyramid. I guess it's just a peak here that you climb. Guano means bat poop. I mean, great for fertilizer and such. They have a museum here. Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I've seen this museum. I've seen this slideshow. This is Museum of the Mummies. So if seeing human remains, mummified human remains, disturbs you, look away for just a few minutes while we look at these mummies, okay? Just a word of warning. Mummies. So it was a common ritual for many Andes cultures to leave human sacrifices by just putting them up in the mountains and just setting them there. I think some of them, probably not here, but I'm pretty sure some of the ones in Peru were probably like drugged first so that they fell into a sleep as they passed away from hypothermia. But that was, well, actually, okay, you can look at this. This is pretty cool. This is a big fish stone fountain thing. That's really cool. Looks like a kaiju or something. All right, mummies are gone. But yeah. Kind of sad, but that was how that culture functioned. This park has got big old cows here. Big, sweet black and white cows. Let me see, I saw some more. Look at them. It's probably demonstrating how they worked like a plow on a yoke, something like that. Look at the mountains in the distance. There's Farmer with his claw hand. Looks like his hand fell off there. Helping those cows plow. Look at those big old moo-moos there. Down in Riobamba, there was another archaeological museum that I'm pretty sure had some mummies as well, right here. So, warning for mummies, I think. Let me see. Oh, this isn't it. This isn't it at all. This is gorgeous, but it's I think I tapped the wrong thing. I meant to tap the museum. Where did it go? Go away, park. You're pretty, but you're not what I wanted. Park. Oh, I tapped ecological park. I did tap the right thing, just not what I meant to. And you can clearly see from above this is a Spanish town because of how it's perfectly grid shaped. Here we go. Chimborazo Culture Museum. Let me see if there's mummies. No, actually. There's some cool little guys here. Made out of clay, I assume. These two are best friends. These people are sleeping. But look, we've got some beautiful dancing happening here. And we got a parade here. Look at these. Headdress is so colorful. We got music. Looks like some kind of award show there. Even a memorial, I think. Or maybe an author talk. But this looks like a funeral. I'm not sure. Lots of cultural things happening there. That's also not the museum I meant to show you guys. But we did already see some mummies, so that's perfectly fine. See the airstrip there? I guess the airport. Yeah, okay. There was one more museum to show you. Here's a mirador. Let's take a look before we hop over to the main event. Chimborazo. Not much of a mirador. Here we go. Ta-da. Here is your view. Look at this beautiful valley. This big river coming through here. You can see some farms around it. Let's look at the mountain. What's this museum? Pretty. Some beautiful art. Let's look at the main event. Dun 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 dun. Mount Chimborazo. Mount Chimborazo. Look at it in 3D. Big snowy cap mountain here. Alright. Let's take a look. Big old Mount Chimborazo. Gorgeous, right? All these plains around it, I'm sure from past eruptions and volcanoes and such. Some vicuñas. There's 3 types of camelids in South America. Llamas, alpacas, vicuñas. Don't forget the vicuñas. They're so cute. Look at that mountain. It's so majestic. Wow, what a shot. The little vicuña there. Hiking up through the snow here to reach the top. So barren up there too, no tree line. Very barren at the bottom as well. Ooh, all snowy cold, but they look very excited. You've made a snowball of Chimborazo snow. Hiking to the top so you can see the Whymper Pass here, which would be how Edward Whymper, I assume, since it's named after him, would have used this path to climb up and climb in there. There's climbing sticks. They sure are climbing. They brought the flag with them. This is Templo right here. Let me see. I assume it's a rock. Oh, it's a cave. Oh, it's a scary cave. Ooh, that's a little eerie. That's a little eerie. Look at that vicuña. That's like a baby vicuña. That's a little one. Super cool rocks over here, though. I'm sure all shaped from the wind and snow and the elements and the volcano. Yeah, There's a lot to see here. As always, I highly encourage you to explore these areas yourself to see what you can find. I think actually we will end it here. There's lots of other really pretty slideshows here throughout the forest, the jungle, and such. So take a look for yourself, but I'm going to end it up here on top of the mountain. That's not the best slideshow. Lots of selfies. Look at this guy's face. Oh, I think he was like vlogging or something there. That moment when you realize that you're taking a photo and not recording. And there's Chimborazo's friend. I said yesterday, volcanoes usually have friends. There's Chimborazo's friend right there. Let's find one more. Let's find a good one. La Chorrera. Perfect. Look at how gorgeous. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this style of content, please consider subscribing. We are actually next going to another country's highest point. I'll tell you the name of the mountain. You have to tell me what country it's in, okay? It is Mount Wilhelm. Mount Wilhelm. Which country's highest point is Mount Wilhelm? If you know it, let me know in the comments below. Be sure to drop all your thoughts down there as well. And while you're down there, be sure to hit that thumbs up, that like button. I'd appreciate that very much. These rocks are amazing. Look at that. Almost like basalt columns. That's so cool. I hope that you found this video to be relaxing and educational. And I hope that you have a good